Can we start the session?
Yes.
Okay. So, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Hope you all are safe. Hope you all are safe at your home. I, Professor Purnima Gaikwad, on the behalf of KJEI's Trinity College of Engineering, Research Pune, Computer Engineering and Research Pune, and Information Technology Department, would like to welcome our today's trainers, Mr. Arvind Kishore, Dr. Hemant Abhyankar, Executive Director KJEI Pune, Dr. B.M. Shinde, Principal of Trinity College of Engineering, Research Pune, Dr. Gitika Narang, Head of the Department, Computer and IT, all organizing committee, and dear participants. For this 5 days online faculty development program on cloud computing using web services in association with AB's Learning Solution. Our today's trainer, Mr. Arvind Kishore, is currently working as Senior Cloud Solution Architect with CubeRoot Software and having more than 17 plus experience in IT industry. He has worked with IBM, Wipro, Persistent. Sir is passionate about mentoring professionals in cloud technologies, DevOps, and core Python. We have Honorable Executive Director KJEI, Dr. Hemant Abhyankar Sir. Sir has many achievements, one of which is Sahitya Samrat K. Nachi Kelkar Granthotyajak Paritoshik for writing a book on Abhiyantriki Shikshak Ka Ani Kasa. So, I request our sir to enlighten the program by saying a few words. Hello. Hello, sir. Abhyankar, sir.
Bola. Yes.
Sir, I request you to enlighten the program by saying few words.
I don't know if you can see me. Can you see me?
Yes.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Visible.
Can you hear
can
me
hear
too?
you.
Okay.
Yeah, sir.
And there is a problem of echo, I believe, somewhere.
Yes, sir.
All participants are requested to mute their mics. Yes, sir. Now it is quite clear.
Good morning, invited guests,
Good morning, sir.
B.M. Shinde, Dr. Gitika, our faculty colleagues, and dear participant friends. Gives me an immense pleasure to be with you today. You may not be aware, I don't know if you are aware, I joined teaching profession in electronics department way back, and I learned electronics with the help of vacuum tubes and only a little bit of transistors or semiconductor devices. But I spent whole life in teaching semiconductor devices, and then later on worked on operational amplifiers, then digital circuits, then we had TTL circuits and MOS and CMOS and whatnot, because speed became very important in the life of people, which gave us the computing systems. So many years probably computer engineers also worked on improving the speed by reducing the switching time of devices. And it probably has reached a very high level of speed now. At the same time, the computing also required a lot of data to be retrieved and stored. And we now find that data storage has become a big issue. I saw in Dhirubhai Ambani DAC Knowledge Center a tremendous amount of security for data storage. Banks and all, everybody is now after data, storage, and security. Cloud computing has been a concept to ensure that we seek the help of the cloud to store our data so that our devices need not have so much of data and all the time. The faculty of various institutions, it is very important now that the students of not only computer and IT branches, all engineering students should understand how to seek the help of cloud for computing, utilize the storage. And if we do not understand it properly, if we do not learn it properly, probably the students will go ahead of teachers. They will understand it quickly, they will start doing it, and teachers will have to stay back. I'm sure all the teachers, they are utilizing their lockdown period or lockdown time thanks to COVID, which has permitted us to understand how to deliver lectures online, which is again another pedagogical art, I would say, which every teacher will have to understand. Because henceforth, even if the lockdown is not there, allowing people to come together, sit together in masses will be very difficult. And probably educational institutions will have to adhere to online teaching learning at least up to 40 or 50%. This is going to be another challenge for engineering teachers hereafter. So my dear participant friends, this is an opportunity for you to understand and learn Amazon Web Services to be used for cloud computing. I have an expert here. I extend a warm welcome to him on behalf of all our institutes. He could have visited our campus, which is lush green European campus, 110 acres of campus. I'm sure we'll find some other time to bring him to the campus. I wish all the participants, the faculty, the trainers, all the best. I hope this hitting Mumbai today will not affect our connectivity and will allow all of you to enjoy the training sessions. So may I conclude? Please visit my blogs, hemanthabhankar.com. You will learn some other things in education. Thank you. Jai Hind. Jai Maharashtra.
Thank you, sir, for
Bye-bye.
guiding us. Thank you very much, sir, for guiding us. Now, hello.
Yes, ma'am.
Now we request our Mr. Arvind Kishore sir to start the session.
So good morning to all.
Good morning.
I hope I am audible. And thank you, Hemant sir, for your valuable words. And thank you, ma'am, for the introduction. Thank you, sir. So hopefully, we will be able to continue this session without any issue. But because of the current weather situation, there is obviously a load shedding, but I am having proper backup. So we will be definitely, complete to this session, and henceforth also there shouldn't be any problem as long as, we have a proper network band connectivity. So I'm having backup of Jio, Airtel and Vodafone. Hopefully all of them will work for, our discussion, and we will continue with our learning. So, as rightly said, by Hemant sir, that cloud computing is obviously, it's going to be it's already in the mainstream because since last 17, 18 years of my, working, I have seen how cloud has evolved with time, right? So it is already mainstream because this is the way we have to go. And the cloud computing platform is something that is not going to, come down, or its demand is not going to cease with time. It is only going to improve. And from the job perspective, even for students, it's very important that they understand the importance of cloud computing and align their learning towards cloud computing, right? So we will discuss today is the session for introduction. We will try to understand what exactly cloud computing is, and then we will move into Amazon Web Services, because Amazon Web Services is one of the cloud provider, right? Apart from that, there are other players, obviously, like Microsoft Azure and Google Cloud Platform, in short GCP. And along with that, there are a lot of many players, but these three are the main players in cloud delivery. So wherever we are going to work, our students, they will be working on mostly on these kind of cloud platform. And if we understand how one cloud platform is utilized, how we have to go and configure something, then it's not difficult to move to some other cloud platform. And that will definitely help. I mean, if learning on one cloud platform is going to be definitely useful, and if we have proper, I would definitely suggest that if, for the final year computer and IT students, if they have some kind of project that is related to cloud computing, that is definitely going to give them a lot of edge once they start looking for jobs. So let me present my slide, and just somebody can confirm me if they can view my slide.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So I'm opening my slide.
Hello, sir.
Yeah, ma'am.
So your voice is not clear.
Okay. How is it now?
Hello.
Yeah. Is it clear now?
Gauri ma'am, it was better actually. I think
Yes,
it's me.
it is okay.
Yeah, it is clear, ma'am. Arjun sir, it was
Okay.
fine. Yeah.
Okay, fine. So just confirm me if you can see my slide.
Yeah, I can. We can see.
Yes.
Not a problem.
Okay,
We
great.
can see.
Yeah. So I mean, this is just a visual representation of how why we will discuss why the word cloud come into existence and what exactly happened. Right. Just to start with. So I mean, to just get into the history of how the story really started. Right. It's all about cloud computing, cloud as a platform. When we started working on mainframe, right? And that machine used to be quite big in size. Now, what was the purpose? Why we started moving towards computing machine, right? Because it helped to solve certain problem in less amount of time, right? That was the main intention, and that's where this whole invention started from. And initially, it was all about mainframe. It used to occupy a huge amount of space, and to execute a simple batch program, it used to take a lot of time. But slowly we improved. We started, sharing the resources of mainframe within a particular location. And then when we moved to, and further down the line, ARPANET came into existence, right? It was, So in 1969, JCR he's introduced the concept of intergalactic computer network. And then he was the main person who was responsible for ARPANET, which eventually developed into today's what we are using as internet. Right. In this journey, in 1970, VMware, they launched the virtualization software. Now, virtualization is actually the backbone of cloud computing world. So everything is virtualized. Whatever we access in cloud, we access it through a software layer. And behind the scene, it's the virtualization which is working in a big way. So what VMware launched in 1975. So in that, what became possible? So on one particular machine, we could install this virtualization software, and on top of that machine, it was possible to run one guest operating system, only one, right? So at the same time, see, when we are configuring our machine, we can go and configure it in two different ways, right? We can go and install, say, if my current operating system is on Windows, I can go and install Linux on that same machine at this, and at the boot time, I can decide on which operating system I want to start working, right? So this was one way, but with this, we were able to use only one operating system. But with virtualization, it was possible to switch between your host operating system and the guest operating system. And this guest operating system was utilizing all the resources of your host machine using this virtualization layer. Okay. And then in 97, somebody coined this word, cloud computing. So if we understand, in the entire world, whenever there is something new, and for any technology, there is always some kind of event happening all across the world, right? So in every specific area in technology, people interact with each other. They talk about the technical stuff, what kind of work they are doing, how they can contribute if it is an open source. So that kind of event is happening, and that has grown with time, right? And as an IT professional, I do have to attend such lot of such event to just to be in sync with where the technology stack is moving as far as cloud is concerned. So this word in 1997, this word cloud computing came into existence. And then in 1999, they started the Salesforce, which is basically a SaaS-based company, software as a service-based company. They started delivering software, enterprise software, directly through the website. Right. So this was again a big revolution in the journey towards cloud. Right. As a user, what Salesforce was giving, as a user, you just need to log into your service, pay for whatever you want to, for the duration of time you want to utilize that service, and then forget about anything else. Salesforce, the project which is running on Salesforce platform, they are going to take care of each and everything. How the infrastructure is going to work, how the networking are going to be configured, where your application is running, any kind of scaling that needs to be performed. Each and everything was managed by Salesforce. Then again, one major breakthrough came in 2003, right, when Zen Hypervisor was released. Okay, so with this, what happened? It became possible to run more than one guest operating system on the host operating system. Okay, so for example, if I'm running Windows 10 on my laptop, I can go and install, say, for example, tools like VirtualBox or VMware Workstation, and on top of that, I can go and install, say, Ubuntu. Along with that, I can go and install Red Hat Linux. I can go and install SUSE Linux. So I can install multiple guest operating system on top of my single host operating system. And this became possible because of this Zen Hypervisor. Earlier, it was not possible. Okay, so this is again, Zen Hypervisor has played a big role in cloud computing. We will see it later. Right? And then Amazon, they launched one service known as SQS for developer community in 2004. And then in 2006, actually, they came up with virtual machines. Amazon called these virtual machines as instance or elastic compute cloud. In short, EC2. Now, with this service, it was possible to run virtual machines in cloud just with the help of an internet connection. Doesn't matter where you are located. You just need an internet connection, and that's all. You can go and control each and everything in cloud. And this was one major breakthrough, right? And then slowly they started other services like S3, like simple storage service. If you compare it with our day-to-day example, Google Drive is one example, which is also running in S3 kind of service on Google platform. So it became quite popular and it's still one of the widely used service. Why I am using the word service? Because in cloud, everything is offered as a separate service. It's up to you which one service you want. And in cloud, there is a possibility that we can configure that how two different services can interact with each other. That we will see in the demonstration and all. And one of the most important points, they launched the concept of pay-as-you-go for everyone, for all. I mean, for user, single user, industry, for all, everyone. They came up with this concept of pay-as-you-go. Now, what happened because of this particular model? You don't need to pay. Right now, we have to go and create our account in AWS. So for new user, it was not important to pay a single dollar to Amazon. So pay as you go model says that you utilize the service, use it, and pay after 1 month. And this particular concept is still there. There are different pricing model. We see pay as you go. There is a concept of reserving certain resources. So those we will see with time. So these were the three major things that happened in 2006. And by this time, there was no other competitor of Amazon. More we will discuss in introduction to our Amazon Web Services. So now let's go and compare the analogy, right? What could be the nearest analogy that we can think of cloud computing, right? So this is one example I give, right? The way we consume our electricity, right? Power that we consume at our home. We are just bothered about how, whether this power is available for me 24/7. And if there is any issue, we call up the electricity board and, register our complaint and they address it within 24 hours. That's the way they are working right now. So we are not bothered how that electricity is generated, because that is not my concern. What is my concern? What is something that is going to be useful to me? That power should be there 24/7. And based on the different devices that I am using to run, I have to pay the bill at the end of the month. Similar concept goes in cloud as well. So at home also, if we are consuming, say, to 1.5 ton of, if I am running 1.5 ton of AC, obviously it is going to generate, more bill. There will be, more unit it is going to consume, and then it is going to impact our bill. If we are not consuming, if we are, very energy conscious, and if we are utilizing our resources in a most possible efficient way by using LEDs and utilizing fan whenever it is required, switch it off when it is not. Same goes in cloud as well. So whatever the service we are going to utilize in cloud, there again we have to think whether I need it. If not, then just switch it off or terminate it or delete it or dump it. Okay. And again, in cloud, they have amazing amount of, redundancy built up. And we will hardly find any kind of downtime. And if it is there to be some, maintenance related downtime, Amazon announces it beforehand so that we can go and take proper action. But mostly those downtimes are minimal and not very, impactful in the sense that the company who have hosted their application on cloud, they have to go and take some action. So such is the kind of capability they have built in their data centers. Okay, so this is one analogy. Second analogy I could draw with suppose if we are traveling to some other city, for example, what we do, we just book our ticket, occupy our space, and whenever we have to get down, we just get down. And normally, sometimes we don't even talk with the other person who is just sitting next to me. We just thank the driver and just move out of the bus. But along with me, there are other people also traveling to their own destination. They are managing their own luggage and taking care of their belongings. So in ideal scenario, nobody is going to disturb anybody else. In cloud also, in cloud, there is a concept of public cloud. So there, on one piece of host operating system, there might be a number of virtual machines running from different accounts. So 4 people located at 4 different locations, they might be using the same host operating system, right? But they are all logically separated from each other. Nobody can see what the other person is doing because everything is linked to your account. Okay, so where this word came into existence, like from when this word like cloud started, right? So this word came from a network design, and one particular networking engineer, he just used this cloud as a way to address the interconnection between different networking devices. So it is said that from that particular time, people started using this word cloud for these kind of distributed located servers. The question now may be asked, why cloud computing? Because prior to 2006 also, the applications were running, they were getting deployed on some server, right? And if you ask me about for us, I mean, we all are utilizing cloud computing in some or the other way. The moment we all created our email accounts, we were actually accessing cloud computing, right? Suppose if we create an Gmail account in Google, it is going to create our account and keep our data somewhere in the server. We don't know where exactly it is. It could be in India, could be somewhere else, wherever Amazon is running its fleet of virtual machines, wherever they are setting up their data center. So as a consumer, as a user, what was my concern? The concern was that whatever the email which is there in my inbox or sent folder, that should be always there as long as I want to keep it, right? Amazon, they take care that whatever the email that you have is not, they don't actually see what exactly you are having within your email account. The limit was the storage. Initially, these email accounts were, these cloud providers or Gmail or Hotmail, they were offering very low storage space. But right now with Google, you have, I think 10 to 15 GB of storage. So as long as you don't hit this upper limit of storage within this, free usage, tier, there won't be any problem. But the moment you start, suppose if you have consumed the entire 15 GB of storage, then obviously you have to go and delete and create some storage space so that your new emails can be saved on particular some server. Right? Now again, with the advent of 3G, 4G, and now we are going into 5G, and also due to the availability of very cheap smartphones, there is huge explosion of data. As Hemant sir was saying, storage has become one of the most important factor for different organizations. If you look into, for example, if you look into the app like WhatsApp, application code-wise, it is not that huge. Right? Applications are always small, many a times. We cannot compare the size of the application with the storage.
Not visible.
Okay. Let me see if I lost the connection. Just a moment, please.
No, sir, your connection was not a problem. Someone started to do his present. That's why it was
Okay. Okay. Just confirm me.
You can just start. Yeah. You can just start again screen share. It would be there.
Okay.
All participants are requested just to see that while entering, sometime you switch on your present screen sharing. So please avoid that.
Okay, ma'am. I just let me do it again.
You just start again, sir.
Yeah. Correct. I have to start again.
Yeah, it's there, sir.
Well, just confirm me, ma'am, if the
Yeah,
slide
yeah,
is
yeah. It's there, sir. We can see.
okay. So with the increase in the devices, like mostly it was because of mobile and even the laptops and all. Now it has become a household thing. Initially, it wasn't the case, and that mainly was because of the kind of bandwidth, the network speed that we were getting from our ISPs, right? So that has changed a lot with 4G, and that has led to the increase of huge amount of data. Even the WhatsApp messages that we are sharing, if any kind of videos that we go and share, that adds up to the storage, right? It adds up to the storage of the particular cloud provider which is serving that particular application, and it is growing like anything nowadays. Even because of AI and ML, companies like who are there in e-commerce domain specifically, they want to understand the way the user is looking for a product, the kind of product that he is looking for, and these kind of information again these e-commerce company are capturing, and based on that they are giving you some suggestions directly on your device. If you go and accept the notification, you will start getting the notifications. So they are trying to understand your approach. They are trying to understand how this is possible. They are capturing your they are capturing the details about the products you are scanning through, the products that you are adding to your wish list. These all things they are doing. And to do these things, obviously, they have to capture some data. So they are capturing live streaming data, and these data again consume a lot of space. And without cloud, it was not possible to store such kind of data, right? So as a user, we are obviously generating huge amount of data, and the organizations, the company who are into business, they are also generating huge amount of data, and these data cannot be so it is not only about storing. You collect this data, and again you have to run some analysis, you have to run some analytics, you have to use some kind of machine learning model to understand the user behavior. So it was not only about storing the data, it was also to understand the data, what this data means, right? So increase in number of mobile and computer, obviously this led to massive growth of generation of data. And obviously this is the priority for all the organizations, right? And for storing this data, I mean, companies like, prior to when cloud computing became a day of, it was there for us to use. Prior to that, bigger organizations who were working in insurance domain, banking domain, they had huge amount of capital. And because of their user base, they were in a position to, construct their own data centers. And in those data centers, they were, running their own application and storing their end user data. It was possible for them to go for such application, even if it means, setting up their own data centers. But it was not possible for each and everyone. And cloud comes with a lot of, different benefits. So it was possible for even the startups to start utilizing cloud computing as a platform to test their innovation, right? And whatever the technology, one more important point, the technology that Amazon is using to offer our service, again, it is not visible. They don't normally share, right? As we are not bothered about consuming the electricity, whether it is getting generated from some hydroelectric power plant or nuclear power plant. I'm not bothered about from where it is coming. So technology-wise, Amazon, they have huge amount of money and they have the best resource possible to run their software. And they ensure that whatever is good about it, success of technology doesn't depend upon how good it is. The success of technology also depends upon how widely it can be used, whether it can be used by the entire team. For any technology to success, it has to be accepted by the developer community. And in this, the open source developer community plays a great role. There could be an amazing, technical product, but if it cannot be used by wide set of people, or it cannot be utilized for the applications which are already deployed in cloud, it doesn't make sense, right? That technology is obviously not going to go far. So anything which is there in technological stack, new and advantageous, we can just Amazon is ensuring that they are utilizing those services for their cloud services. So what is cloud? It is basically on-demand delivery of compute power. That means for a particular virtual machine, we can run more than 700 virtual CPUs, right? We can get more than 10 gigabytes of bandwidth within Amazon network. So compute power, database storage, applications, possible to go and deploy and use this storage for our application using internet connection. So in today's scenario, what I have observed in last couple of years, since I am associated with cloud since 2015, the client who were very reluctant to move to cloud, now because of this pandemic, they are in hurry, right? Because the organizations who have already moved to cloud, they are happy. Their team, they are working from home, collaborating with each other, discussing, and whatever the execution that is happening in some Amazon data center. We don't need to go there physically. We just need a net connection, a laptop, that's it. So now there is a hurry that organizations who are running their storage, maintaining their computing resources within their own premise, or utilizing some traditional way of consuming their services, they now move to cloud. They now want to move to cloud, and that is again creating a lot of job opportunities. So we have discussed this all, and we can go to. So what are the attributes of cloud computing? This is again which we need to have a. So we don't need any kind of capital expenditure. Just you create an account, start using the services, and pay based on whatever you are consuming. True elastic capacity. This is one of the most amazing feature of cloud computing. What is the meaning of elastic capacity? So you can scale up and down, but what exactly it means? It means that today, if your computing need is say for 2 CPUs of some configuration, and if there is sudden increase in the number of users for your application which is deployed on cloud, you can add virtual machines parallelly, right? Which is also known as horizontal scaling. And to do this, you don't need to do any kind of manual work. Again, in cloud computing, whatever we do, suppose if we go and create a virtual machine, do the configuration, deploy the application, each and everything, except the billing part, each and everything with respect to the configuration of your infrastructure can be done with the help of code, right? So again, people who are good at writing even the bash script, shell script, PowerShell, Python, these skills will be additionally advantageous if somebody is moving towards cloud, because in cloud, each and everything can be automated. You can obviously do it in a manual way, but that has obviously some limitations. So what does elasticity mean? If your user base has grown from say 100 to 10,000, we can do a configuration which will add say 100 more virtual machines automatically. And the user base of my application, if it goes down from 10,000 to 100 again, those additional virtual machines that was created in cloud automatically will be terminated. So how it is advantageous? You are obviously not paying for those additional virtual machines. Those virtual machines were there because there was some business need. There were some additional number of users. Now, what could be the best example? you just take an example of sales that happens on Amazon or Flipkart or such platforms during some festive season. And obviously, to get the discount, the advantage of discount on certain products, people are normally waiting. Most of the time, it's the students and all, but many times we also add our product in wish list and just wait for the time when the sale opens at midnight. And obviously, during that point of time when the sale is going to start, there will be huge influx of users. So what Amazon is going to do? Are they going to add those virtual machines manually? No. Auto scaling is going to take care. And when the entire this 3-day of sale goes away, gets over, obviously the user will slowly move out. And again, based on the number of users who are leaving or they are just finished with their purchase and they are going back to their home, you don't need those additional number of virtual machines. So those will automatically get deleted. So how you can do this? In cloud, there is a monitoring service which is known as CloudWatch. So here in CloudWatch, you can set alarm. The way we set alarm to wake up in the morning, you can go and set up alarm. And in that alarm, you can set some condition criteria. And if one of the criteria that we can set is, if my average CPU utilization say goes beyond 80%, go and launch additional 100 virtual machines or say 1,000 virtual machines. And this will happen automatically. The way the alarm start ringing the moment, suppose if you have set it at 6 a.m., it will obviously ring. You don't need to go and do anything manually. Same is possible in cloud. So in cloud, the capacity is elastic, whether it is storage, whether it is compute. Pay as you go, we have discussed. Improve time to market. Yeah, if I have an idea and I can write, two people can obviously start a company. I have an idea. I don't have any capital. I don't have any money to invest on an infrastructure, or even to the traditional way of deploying the application was, if I have deployed a couple of applications, and I have seen that irrespective of my need, I was compelled to buy some minimum amount of storage. Even though my storage need is say 10 GB, I was compelled to buy 100 GB of storage. I don't know whether I will be utilizing or not those additional number of storage. For the compute also, I have to go and buy certain minimum number of nodes or virtual machines. And again, scaling and all was not possible there. Auto scaling kind of feature was not possible. But in case of, and to do that, it used to take at least 1 week of time minimum. My application is ready, but I want to deploy it. But it takes time to deploy your application. It used to take a good amount of time. But now, because of cloud computing, if you have an application ready today, you can deploy it today itself within a couple of minutes and expose your domain name to the end customers, and immediately start monitoring their user footprint and whatnot with the help of, again, a service monitoring tool which is known as CloudWatch. Okay, so it helps us to improve the time to market. We can go to the market immediately. Our application will be there in the market. Or suppose if there is already an existing application in the market and your application developer do some changes, these changes can be immediately deployed in the cloud, and you will start immediately getting the feedback. So cloud monitoring, this cloud monitoring tool, CloudWatch, gives us feedback, how things are happening in cloud. Right? So what advantage here we are getting? So as an organization, when I started working with Persistent, we used to have a separate team. Entire one floor was there for these networking engineers and networking admins to manage the entire some of the client products were also running there. A number of switches and routers, database servers, they all were managed by them. Right? And to run that, it needed a separate team, separate set of teams, and company definitely they have to manage their salaries and health benefit and whatnot. So what the cloud provider says, they say that focus on your core strengths. If you are totally into technology, then focus on your application, how to improve it, how to make it much more, accessible, how to improve the features. And forget about the infrastructure. We are there to take care of it. Pay for only what you are using. Here, I would like to give you an example of Lenovo. One of my colleagues who is working with Lenovo in North Carolina, he said that in 2016, when Lenovo decided to move their entire database storage to cloud, at that time, they had around 300 resources to manage those storage devices, right? And when they moved to cloud, it took them almost a year and a half to move their workload to cloud. After this migration, this is known as migration. This is one of, again, job profile that we will come across, that you have something running on premise, you have to move it to cloud. So there are separate tools to do that. So when Lenovo went for this migration, after the migration was completed successfully, their 300 team resource was reduced to only 10 people. So you can imagine where exactly you are saving. So cloud gives us that, that opportunity, that facility where we can go and ensure that we are only focusing, we are spending our resources where we are good at, rather than running these storage and those kind of things. Okay. This is just one slide that just to differentiate between a virtual machine and a Docker machine. Containers. I'll talk about containers on the 5th day, but this is just a comparison. Why Docker? Because nowadays most of the deployment are happening on Docker, and it is obviously fast. How fast? What kind of comparison we can do with virtual machines? I'll talk about it later, obviously. But containers are again becoming quite common. But again, these containers again runs on virtual machines. So this we will see. So on the left hand side, if you see, this is what I was discussing. So you have one host operating system. On top of that, you go and install some virtualization software. And on top of that, I am having 2 guest operating systems. I can go and have 4. But this count is obviously going to be decided by what kind of configuration you are having for your host operating system. So if you want to run more number of guest operating system parallelly, then obviously you need a host operating system with very good configuration. Okay. Again, types of cloud, we have private, public, hybrid, and community. Private, a particular organization, they go and convert their existing, say, on-premise setup into cloud, and they access their services the way services are accessed in cloud. If you talk about Amazon, they have one service which is known as Outpost, AWS Outpost. Using this, a particular organization, they can move from on-premise to private cloud. Again, there is one good company with the name Nutanix. They are totally dedicated to private cloud. Right? They have good number of products, which is basically converting your on-premise setup the way we used to connect with them, the way we used to expand them into cloud platform. Right? So your cloud is there within your on-premise, but the way you are accessing it is obviously going to be slightly different. Public cloud, whatever I discussed about initially, it is on public cloud. We share resources. So public cloud, if you have an account, you can go and use it. So public cloud is one type where Amazon has already saturated. There is no, even if there is Oracle, they tried to get into cloud, but it didn't work for them because they were very late. And public cloud was already saturated by Amazon. Okay, hybrid cloud. Now there could be a some compliance requirement which says that this application cannot be totally moved to cloud, right? Or the storage cannot be moved to cloud because the compliance says that it is not something which is going to be allowed by the compliance. So in that case, what companies are doing, they are storing the user information on premise, but the application they are running in cloud. and both are interconnected. So in hybrid, we take advantage of cloud computing as well as whatever we are having at our on-premise. And these are again interconnected using a Amazon service which is known as AWS storage.
We are not able to view your screen.
Okay, I think again.
Someone is presenting. Can anyone remove the present option for everyone so that only the presenter can do that?
Actually, it has to be seen, but from our side we can mute the person, but everybody have to see just when they enter while in the group, they get an option of screen share.
That might be right, but you can restrict others from presenting it.
Yeah.
Continue, sir.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. So now my screen is visible.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you so much. So after type, there is again, we call it cloud computing services, right? So this cloud computing services, this is something that we are most common of, commonly we have come, most of the time we come across these words like infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and software as a service. So we will see, and based on our need, we can go and select one of them, right? So if I have to draw a, cloud pyramid, this is something that I would, draw. And as you can see here, at the bottom layer, we have infrastructure as a service because we need some foundation, right? So some foundation in cloud, and it is the place where you will find most of the cloud resources working, right? On top of that, we have to build a platform as a service. It is again widely used by application developer, and these people through these platform as a service, they ultimately consume the resources created at the infrastructure layer, right? And at the top is software as a service. I gave you example of Google Drive, your Gmail, right? Or for example, even this, if you understand Google 365, Microsoft 365. So there, in SaaS application, what we do, we just go and register, pay some amount, and then start using it. And as on the right hand side, it says that as we go down, we have as we start working at the infrastructure, we have much better control. As we move up from infrastructure to PaaS, we will be having less control. Like application developer, obviously, they will have less control over what the infrastructure team is doing. Okay, so the infrastructure at this particular layer, if you take example, it is EC2, Rackspace, Google Compute Engine. Google Compute Engine is, it's a parallel service of AWS EC2. That means using Google Compute Engine, you can go and create virtual machines. DigitalOcean is again a platform where you can go and deploy your virtual machines. Right? It's again a cloud platform. Okay. In PaaS, Heroku is there since long, but ultimately Heroku also runs on Amazon. But we have, as a consumer, I am having I have less flexibility in increasing the resource. I have to first of all go and pay to a Heroku, and then only it will be made available to me. So what is Heroku? It is a PaaS service, platform as a service. So platform as a service removes the need for organization to manage the underlying infrastructure and allow you to focus on the development, deployment, and management of your application. So when I started, using Heroku, I didn't have any control over their virtual machines. They gave me the virtual machines, and I was just supposed to deploy our application there. And whatever the storage we have bought, and I was just using those storage. Okay, so these were bottlenecks. I will explain how these bottlenecks were, they were bypassed because of this infrastructure as a service. So Beanstalk is one service that we will see today how it works. And SaaS, right? Example, you can take the example of Google Apps. I gave you example of Google Drive, Cisco WebEx, GoToMeeting, even the current Google Meet that we are using. It's a SaaS application. Slack, Mailchimp is a mailing application that we normally configure through our application. So for SaaS, you don't need to do anything. SaaS, the company who is offering this SaaS service, they take care of platform as a service and infrastructure as a service. You are just the end user. You are just the consumer. Okay. So if we have to visualize these things, on-premise, infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, software as a service, then let's start with the extreme left. So on-premise, we have access or control over each and every stack, right? From networking, storage, server, virtualization, OS, middleware, each and everything is under your control. But once you move to cloud, we start using infrastructure as a service, there we lose control over this networking, storage, servers, virtualization. These are controlled by the cloud provider. And we can take control of any kind of operating system that I want to run on top of this infrastructure. We don't have we don't have any control to these devices. We cannot do a VNC and do something like remote desktop and take control of those servers which is running in Amazon. Impossible. So what they do, they have written some piece of code, and on top of that, from that layer, we go and access their virtual machine. Okay, so it is not direct but indirect. How we don't basically, we just go and consume those, start using, putting up our own guest operating system on their existing infrastructure, right? And whatever on top of that we want to do, we can just go and do that. Suppose if I am running a say PHP application, if I have to run the PHP application, I have to go and create an environment, and there I will go and what I will do, I will go and say install Apache as a server and start that service, and then deploy my application.
Arvind,
Yeah,
screen sharing.
Okay.
Sorry to interrupt you.
No problem.
Actually, that is not my handling from the our side in the same way.
No problem, man. You can just ping me.
Thank you.
Here we all are new to remote sharing or using these devices, so it is going to have some impact. No problem at all. It's a part of learning. So in platform as a service, we don't have access, control over anything from runtime, middleware, OS. Right? You just go select, you control your data, deploy your application on top of your PaaS service, and be relaxed. In one of the demo, I will show you how to use Beanstalk is a service from Amazon, which is specifically categorized as platform as a service or PaaS. And in software as a service, as I told you, nothing in our control. You just go and register for your, go and subscribe for the application that you want to access, or create an account and start using it. The company who is hosting that software, they take control of each and everything, each and every layer. PaaS and infrastructure as a service, everything is under their control. Okay. Advantages, obviously, trade capital expense over variable expense. What it means? Initially, if you had huge amount of data, take example of Amazon. See, Amazon in 1996, they started selling books, right? At that time, nobody thought of, selling something online, some books online, right? So they started selling books online. And in US, their business grew to that level where they had to think of setting up their own data center, and they did that, right? But to set up those data centers, a huge amount of money required. You have to go and take the permission from the government, go and acquire the land and whatnot, right? So in cloud, we don't have to do anything like that. Take the example of Netflix. Netflix initially, 2 years back, they were only, initially they were only in US, and they were running their own data center. And then they realized that whatever the business that, the profit and all that they are earning is not going to that level where they want to be. And they realized that if they go and, offer their service to the entire world, it will be, definitely profitable to them, because there was some, good amount of consumers ready to, accept their service, use their service. Why? Because of 4G, obviously. It took time, yeah, but obviously 4G is now, available across many different countries. So initially they were running their own data center, but they realized to expand to the world, right? They needed to utilize the service of some cloud provider. And then in 2013, they decided that they will move their entire workload on Amazon. And it took them almost, 5 years, 4 to 5 years to move their entire workload to cloud. Such huge was their own data center. But obviously it was limited in US. When they moved to cloud, with the help of code, with the help of code, which is also known as infrastructure as code, with the help of the code, they were able to create the entire infrastructure in different parts of the globe. And for them, because of the cloud, it was possible to expand across the globe in just a couple of days. Had they been doing it in the traditional way, I don't know how much time they would have taken to, offer their service to the world. So, if as a is my screen visible?
Yes, sir, it is visible.
Okay, no problem. Oh, anybody wants a break of 2-3 minutes? I can, just break for 2-3 minutes.
So we can give the time to ask the question if anybody wants to ask.
Yeah. So far, yeah, definitely.
Hello.
Yeah.
Arvind sir, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. I can.
So actually, I wanted to query one of the billing issue of the cloud services. Say you the analogy of electricity, where we have meters installed just outside the house, and that's why both the parties are guaranteed that they are doing the right thing. Metering and all that actually. But in cloud, the metering is on one side. That's what on the cloud only all the metering is happening. So is there any solution for this actually? That client is also can have a trust that whatever metered is right thing is the question.
Okay, so your question is whatever the the metering happens on cloud, whether we can trust that the bill that comes up from Amazon or any cloud provider, right?
Right.
Okay, so in Amazon, what they do is before you start consuming service, they have one calculator, monthly calculator. Okay, and in that monthly calculator, you can just go and specify your requirement. I need 2 virtual machines. I will be needing say 100 GB of storage, right? And I will be needing say some other computing resource like say database instance. And based on whatever your requirement, it gives you a calculation. And this calculation you can obviously use to refer at the end of the month, right? So beforehand, you are aware that this resource costs you this much dollars for usage of these many hours, days. So you can go and beforehand calculate your, budget, because that is also important because every company, they are going to have their own set of budget. And based on that budget, they have to go and consume resources. Now in their budget on monthly basis, how much they can consume. At home also, we know that, okay, this is my upper limit of, electricity bill. But to identify that at our home, we need to do, some calculation, right? If we are good at understanding the, power rating and the per unit, cost, we will be able to calculate. But this calculation you can do beforehand in cloud, right? So just give me a moment. I will show you. So these things you can just find out. I mean, okay. So you can just open Google search engine. And here we can, yeah.
Hello.
Go ahead, please.
Hello. Sir, what are the boundaries for private cloud?
See, boundaries of private cloud will depend on, Amazon, they have only one service which is related to private cloud. But in private cloud, you will be having some kind of, limitation based on what kind of storage you are having at your on-premise or private cloud. Because private cloud is going to be managed by the company itself, right? So there they have to, make these resources available beforehand, right? But in public cloud, that is not the case because infrastructure is the infrastructure is there with the cloud provider. So you just need to think in terms of utilizing, calculating your need,
Okay.
and that's it. But in private, you have to make these resources available beforehand and do the configuration and all, because that configuration is again going to be important, right? So that is going to be different. Public, you don't decide about you don't need to worry about whether I will get this or not. If the service that you need, if it is there in your your nearest data center,
Okay.
your budget is going to be the deciding factor whether I will be able to consume those services or not. So public cloud, no limitation, but in private, you have to go and decide about your those hardware infrastructure. Fine. So this is one. I just wanted to show you this pricing calculator, and using this calculator, you can easily go and calculate your upcoming cost.
Hello, Arvind sir. This calculator is fine actually, but all the metering is done at service provider side. But how, for example, Reliance connection I have. Typically say 2 GB per day, but how much time it takes to consume 2 GB, because I don't have track over how much really I am consuming. So somewhere I was reading whether there are tools actually where I can install at my end whenever I am using services, and those tools will tell me like in a trusted manner that okay, well, you have consumed really this much bandwidth. What the service provider also claiming that kind of thing actually.
No, obviously, if you talk about Reliance or any such provider here, there is obviously it's not the clarity is not there.
Yeah, that's
but
right.
in case of but in case of, I'll show you my account. This is my account, and I'll take you to my billing dashboard.
Okay.
And so one thing I said, you can go and do a calculation, but whatever the bill comes, you should be getting a breakup. And if you know that for how long you used, and that parameter you can go and see. Take the example of this virtual machine. If you have run that virtual machine, say for 1 hour, in the bill, it will show you that you were billed for these many hours. Okay. So you can see here, there is some bill with respect to my account. And if I have to find out where exactly I have to, why this amount is coming, I can easily go back. So you can compare your estimate with your actual bill.
Hello.
Yeah.
Sir, how many machines we can create in VirtualBox? If we are, we can set up our own service for our college, then how many machines can we connect?
See, the account that we will be, creating for our, this session, it is going to be, free tier account. So within free tier account, we can create 20 virtual machines, right? But again, to stay within that free tier limit, you cannot go beyond one virtual machine if you want to run that virtual machine for the entire month. So if you create one virtual machine, that is free for 1 month if you don't stop it running. Okay. So so you have to calculate within free tier. You can go and create 20 virtual machines, but there will be some bill. I'll show you how to calculate that bill when we discuss this virtual machine in day 3 session. So you can see here the bill is because of one bill is because of Elastic Compute Cloud. So I can just expand it, and I need to find out, okay, this is the location where I am running, and you can see here this bill is because of Elastic IP address. So Elastic IP address in Amazon, it is nothing but a static IP address. And this particular resource, if I am not using and it is there in my account, then it becomes chargeable. So it is billing me for blocking this resource, right? So for a virtual machine, when you create a virtual machine, the moment you go and restart your virtual machine, it will acquire a new dynamic IP address. At your home also, if you reboot your router and go back and check from your machine ipconfig command, you will see that there is a different IP address assigned to your machine. Okay. So in cloud also, whenever a virtual machine is created, it is assigned a dynamic IP address, which is going to change if you stop or restart your machine or reboot your machine. But if you don't want, and in production, when the application is running in cloud, for your production setup, we have to assign elastic IP address. Why? Because the static IP address don't change if you restart or stop your virtual machines. Okay, but
one more question, sir.
yeah.
Can we SAS can involve pass and IIS simplicity?
Come again, please.
SAS, the services, cloud services, SAS can involve pass and IIS implicity in that.
Oh, okay. See, Amazon does not, see, for SaaS and all, you have to go and use some other cloud provider like Salesforce. Amazon is into infrastructure as a service and PaaS.
Okay.
Right. And if you just want to deploy your application, obviously you can use the PaaS service. But for SaaS kind of feature, Amazon, they don't have any direct service to give you this facility. But you can obviously have SaaS kind of application which is running in Amazon Cloud. We'll do the certain demos, then you will understand how it is possible. Okay. So in cloud, we don't have to. This is one more advantage. Stop guessing about the capacity. We don't need to guess. So as your need increases, you go and acquire those additional storage. This is not possible in private cloud. And if you are running a data center, then again, if you want to attach some storage, you have to go and buy it, commissioning, making it available for consumption by your admin team takes a lot of time. I mean, in cloud, nothing like that. Increases the speed and agility. As I gave you the example, you can easily spread across the world, and whatever the changes you do, it is going to be reflected immediately. Take example of the mobile app that we are using. See, every day there is some update, right? Some or the other day, after 2-3 days or 1 week. Now, how they are able to do it in such a fast way? Because all these apps, they are running in cloud, and it is just a matter of couple of minutes, if not hours, to deploy the changes and make it available for others to go for an update. So it increases the speed and agility, right?
Okay.
Stop spending money on running and maintaining data centers. This we have discussed. Go global in minutes. I have given you the example of this Netflix. Okay. So how organization benefits? See, this is one. With every year, the cloud adoption is increasing. With every year, right? Doesn't matter which cloud provider. Every cloud provider, they are having some other kind of business that they are generating. Okay. So with this slide, I will come to we'll go back to. Okay, now we'll move to AWS introduction. Okay. So this was about cloud computing. If anybody having any other question, they can just share your queries.
Hello.
Yep.
Sir, just now you shown the previous slide list of companies providing services, cloud. So what is the role of Indian companies as demand is keep on increasing? So we are good in giving softwares and supporting software services global level. What about cloud computing services in Indian company?
See, if you talk about the Indian companies, we don't have any such big player in cloud domain specifically. They are obviously present, but the quality of service and the cost of those services which is provided by this player like Amazon or Microsoft Azure, it's unparalleled. No Indian company can even think of going to that level, right? Because they have already saturated that space. And if you think about Beam app, most of us are using. Where it is deployed, it is on Amazon, right? It is running on AWS. So many of the government, even IRCTC, this is also running in cloud, right? And because of the entire infrastructure of IRCTC running in cloud, we are getting such seamless access. But it is not possible. I mean, for me, if you ask me whether it is going to be possible in future for any Indian company to compete with Amazon or Microsoft Azure, I would say no, because Amazon has already done it. They are the pioneers. And with time, what they are doing is they are decreasing the cost of all of their services. So even if any new Indian company comes up, even Reliance, they have tied up with Microsoft Azure for their applications. They have their own data center, but again, they have now tied up with Microsoft Azure. So from our side, we should be focusing, and that's what Amazon says. You forget about infrastructure. Let that part be handled by me, and you focus on your software or your application. Did I answer your query, or there was something else that you were looking for?
Oh, okay. Thank you.
So, as an Indian company, I don't think anybody would dare to go and set up his own or her data center. Yeah, they might go and obviously create a private cloud for their local or their individual, usage. But setting up a public cloud at the level what Amazon has achieved, it's not possible. So, coming to AWS introduction, these are the people we should be knowing, because this is the owner, Jeff Bezos, is Werner Vogels. He was there. Amazon, Amazon, they every time they hold one event across the world, wherever they are getting a good amount of business. Okay, so in India, they started from 2015 December. That event name was AWS Awesome Day. And after that, every year in the month of May, they organize one big event where they invite, all industry people to, showcase their product and services, where they are going, what is going to be their future plan. These kind of things are there. And this person, was there last year, and is a very technical person, and with Amazon since long. This one is, he's the VP. Now he is VP, Andy Jassy. And this is the two statement that if you look into, Amazon initial videos from this person, you will find that he talks about the ability to try a lot of experiments, and number two, not having the collateral damage of failed experiment. Why? What it means? See, when you go and try something new, and if you're doing it on premise, if something goes wrong with the environment where your application is running, to recreate those setup, it takes a whole lot of time, depending upon what kind of application you are running there. And if it is a distributed application, suppose you are using COM/DCOM Microsoft technology, and your application is running on .NET, it takes a lot of time to recreate the setup. Yeah, the networking team, the admin team, everyone will be involved. They will wipe out your operating system, do a new installation of image, and then go back and deploy the application. At times, it takes 1 week to test something new. So in cloud, nothing like that. You go, deploy your application, run whatever you want to run there, any kind of penetration testing, or what kind of things, whatever things that you want to do. And once you are done, you can easily select that terminate button and get rid of that virtual machine, create a new one. So you don't have to worry about, because time is money, right? If you are investing time in recreating or just setups, then obviously you are losing out of time and money ultimately. In cloud, we don't have that kind of concern. Pay only for what you have used. If it goes beyond your free tier usage, be happy. Okay. If you look into the growth, Gartner is the one big, company who keeps on, doing research on different different types of, parameters. And on infrastructure as a cloud, every year in the month of July, they come up with this kind of, data. And you can see they started doing it from 2017. So you can see here Amazon is maintaining that lead. Right? Google and all others are far away. 2018 also, the gap is there. What it means, the kind of services, the type of services that Amazon is offering, it is far more than their nearest competitor. Last year also, they are maintaining that kind of lead. You can see other cloud providers like IBM, Alibaba, Oracle Cloud, they are lagging somewhere in the, this niche player quadrant. So Amazon, they started, this cloud services. They keep on adding different services, every year. And at the same time, they ensure that they are far ahead as compared to their competitors. Right? So you can see here, this slide is talking about, since 2013, Amazon has, decreased the cost of their services. Why? Because this Microsoft Azure, they launched their first service in cloud in 2010, after 4 year, after gap of 4 years as compared to Amazon. And Google came into picture in 2013. Okay, so obviously they have to go and do something to maintain that kind of market capture. So every year they keep on decreasing the pricing of the different services. Okay. So if you talk about the timeline, when Amazon started running their own data center in year 2003, their own, I mean, they were running obviously a couple of data center in US. But when you create a data center, you think about the storage capacity, the compute capacity that you will be needing, say, for the next 10 years, and thinking that the planning is done. So Amazon also did that when they started setting up their own data center. But soon, a couple of their engineers, they realized that they are having a lot of idle storage, lot of idle compute resources. And then Chris and Benjamin, they thought of, they represented a paper saying that we can go and offer these as a service to the entire world, be a one user or a particular company. And then their, other teams started working on their, concept. And in 2004, they launched one service with the name SQS, Simple Queue Service, which is basically a message broker. And it was widely accepted by the dev community across the world. And then in 2006, they launched their first cloud service, EC2, which they call instance or virtual machines in short. And then their journey started, right? 2010, since 2012, from 2012, they are, hosting one event with the name reInvent. And it is there every year. And this event happens in Las Vegas, US. It's a 5-day event. And in the last event, they had around 3,100 different sessions on different types of services that they offer through their cloud delivery model. Okay. Now, understanding the AWS infrastructure, what exactly it is, how things are, how things work in cloud. So, what Amazon has done, they have set up, data center across the world, right? Wherever they see that the user base is increasing, they go and set up their data center. So, what they have done, they have divided the entire world into regions. They call it region. So, in India, Mumbai is one of the regions. Right? And before coming to Mumbai, what they do, before they put up their own data center, what they do is they go and set up a content distribution network in that particular location. So what is content distribution network? Basically, it caches the information and helps in decreasing the latency if your application is deployed in some other part of the world. Right? So this is the first service. So CloudFront is the name of that service, which is basically a content distribution network. So they set up this CloudFront network in India at 3 different locations: Mumbai, Chennai, and not Chennai, Hyderabad and NCR. And after that, in 2016 July, they launched their first region in Mumbai. By the end of this year, or maybe by the beginning of this year, they will be having their second region in Hyderabad. On these regions, they consist of availability zones. Right? In Mumbai, they started with 2 availability zones, but again, because of the demand and the increase in the user base, they had to launch their third availability zone. What are these availability zones? Now, availability zones, or AZs in short, are physically distinct locations within the same area. And within a particular availability zone, it's a virtual concept. Within a particular availability zone, there might be one or more than one data center. So at the top is region, then AZs, and within AZs we have data centers. Amazon doesn't disclose in a particular availability zone what is the number of data centers they are running. Okay, so in Mumbai they started with 2, and everywhere in the world they always start in pair of availability zones. Right? Why? Because in cloud there is a concept of high availability, or in short HA. So if you are deploying your application in say one of the availability zone, and because of some reason, power failure or there is flood, one of the AZ goes down, the second AZ is there to help you. So Amazon says that go and deploy your application in at least 2 different virtual machines, and those virtual machines should be running in 2 different availability zones. So in case something goes wrong in one of the availability zones, your business is not impacted. Your users are not going to be impacted. Right? So this is the concept of region, availability zone, and data center. And this is one of the diagram. I mean, if you can see here, this particular screenshot is from year 2019, and at that time, I think it is at the beginning of the 2019. So in Mumbai, it is showing us that count of 2 is indicating the number of availability zone in Mumbai region. So this screenshot is from the beginning of 2019, because somewhere in September they have launched their 3rd availability zone, and that green circle indicates the upcoming availability zone. Okay, so they are present across the world. You can see their presence is not that good in US because they don't have any availability zone in Russia. Okay, so this is the latest one, and they are now coming up with their data center in Indonesia, Spain, and second availability zone in Japan. Okay, this is about edge location. So they are quite widely present across the world with their edge location service known as CloudFront. If you look into the number of count, overall they have launched 24 regions. So they are present at 24 different distinct locations with their availability zones, with their data center. By the end of this year, they will be having at least 3 more regions available for service. If we add all the different availability zones across the world, this is the count that we are having 76. North Virginia in US is one of the largest region of Amazon. In that they are having 5 availability zones, which is nowhere in the world. Right? Point of presence, again it is related to CloudFront. So in all there are 216 CloudFront configuration across the world. And direct connect location 97. What it means? Using direct connect, what Amazon does is it connects your on-premise infrastructure directly to the nearest Amazon data center. And to do that, they take help of local ISPs. Like in India, they have tie with Jio along with Airtel and Vodafone to do this setup. And overall, in some way or the other, they have served around 245 countries. Okay. So on-premise, you go and access your server, you maintain, manage, take backups, everything on your own. You cloud. To access these services in cloud, you just need a good, decent internet connection, and you can manage the entire infrastructure running in cloud. You don't need to go to office. Okay. So how it is possible? How Amazon Cloud works? They obviously maintain and do all those networking within their AZs and data centers. As a consumer, what I need, just create an account in Amazon and start using their service. These are the different categories of services that Amazon offers, and within these categories there will be a number of different resources. So there are analytics, application integration, lot in now ML and AI. Okay, so they have categorized all their delivery, all their delivery model into these different categories. Okay. You can go and decide. I mean, there will be criteria for selecting a particular region. You can decide it should be there. I mean, how Amazon select, how as a customer we should be selecting a particular region. How we can interact with AWS? Obviously, we have to create an account. That's number one. Number two, you need to install. If you don't want to use console, what you can do? You can install AWS CLI on your local machine. Do some configuration, and you can now connect to you can go and create virtual machine directly by running some command. I'll show you this on, I think day 2 I will show you, or day 3 or day 2 I will show you this. And the third way of accessing your services in cloud is through your APIs, through your programming languages like Python, .NET, Java. So there are 8 to 10 different platforms that Amazon supports. And using that, you can invoke certain API. And with that API, you will be able to create or consume services in cloud. So these are the 3 different approaches that we can take. Okay. So key points here. I mean, if you look into the certifications which is there in Amazon, they are categorized basically into foundation, associate, professional, and specialty. So overall, there are 12 different certifications. And based on your interest, you can select any one of them and start your journey in cloud. Okay. So coming to this is a comparison. If you are running your workload in your own data center or in your own on-premise, and if you compare the same workload if you have to run in cloud, right? So here, on x-axis we have time, and on y we have the infra cost, right? And this this blue line indicates our traditional way of traditional hardware you can say growth in data center or on-premise. What happens? You go and buy some storage or compute capacity, and again you wait for some time to for this need to increase your compute and other resources, and then based on some calculation before this your current storage exhaust, you go and add additional resources. So here, if you look into this diagram, this actual demand is shown by this red worm. Okay, and you will see that at one point of time there is one red triangle. What exactly is happening here? Though the user base or the customer grew to a larger extent, but on-premise, this particular company was not able to serve them because they have already exhausted their existing capacity. So obviously they will lose some business. And this never happens in cloud. That is shown by this brown or yellow line. So in cloud, you can always stay ahead of your user requirement. How? Because I told you in cloud, one of the property of cloud is elasticity. The demand increases, go and increase your storage or compute capacity. If it comes down, get rid of them and save on money. So that is what is indicated using that green vertical line, that you are saving that amount of money if you deploy your workload on cloud. Okay. As I told you, scalable. The moment you need any kind of resources, it is going to be made available to you in cloud. This is one example of Facebook. And initially, Facebook was running on Amazon, but now they have moved to their own cloud because they realize that in the long run they have to exist, and in the long run, if they continue to use Amazon, they might end up paying more money. So they thought that since they have to grow and they want to continue on their